We're so excited about this game. They're so excited about this game that they threw the first pitch about a minute and a half early here in OKC. So let's play 1-1 to count to the leadoff hitter, Dakota Kennedy for Arizona, taking on Nyjah Kennedy.
And both of these teams said, we're not waiting for that clock. We want to go ahead and get this championship rolling.
Just for the record, there's no threat, and we're the lucky ones here, of any bad weather in the area. It could not be more perfect than it is right now in OKC. 67 degrees sunshine at the 11 a.m. Central Time. First pitch, as you take a look at the Arizona lineup, 2-0 here in the tournament. Number 2 seed coming in, Dakota Kennedy at leadoff spot. Sydney Stewart has been big for the Wildcats.
Yeah, Sid Stewart's going to be someone they look to today to make big adjustments against Nyjah. 0 for 5 when she played them in that series 3 weeks ago, and looking at her with that big home run yesterday, she's going to be a big piece, being able to make those adjustments.
That's one of the things, too, Danielle, you and I were talking about, is looking back at that series and being able to use that series and how the pitchers threw to the hitters as information for them.
But like you said, Madison, even if you're facing Nyjah for a 4th time, it's almost like she's a different pitcher every time, and that doesn't make it any easier whatsoever.
You would typically think that a batter, the more at-bats they get against a pitcher, it's going to start to sway in favor of the batter. But when you're facing somebody like Nyjah Kennedy and the stuff that she brings, it's like she gets better and better each and every time.
Kennedy gets her 19th strikeout in her 3rd appearance of the Big 12 tournament. 1 down for Reagan Shockey, the sophomore center fielder for the Wildcats, who come in with 45 wins on the season. Of course, their first year in the Big 12.
When you see Nyjah Kennedy out there in the circle, you just come to expect that she's going to throw with that high velocity. Upper 60s consistently, will even touch into 70 miles per hour. And she's going to bring in that rise ball, that curveball combination. But to your point, Danielle, the changeup has been such a key pitch for her, especially in this Big 12 tournament, because when you get these batters that are looking at those pitches up in the zone, to be able to drop in that changeup, she's been getting a lot of swing and miss on that pitch.
Slapped over to 3rd. That's Bailey Lindemuth throwing over to Lauren Allred. Quickly 2 down for Arizona here in the 1st.
And I think this is a good test for Nyjah going up against this offense for the 4th time. I mean, she threw over 300 pitches in that series, and she gets to face them yet again. So for both sides, Arizona to figure out how to make the adjustment, but for someone like Nyjah Kennedy, who's getting the opportunity, like, this is what the postseason is going to be about for this young lady. She's going to be throwing 99% of the innings if they want to go far. So these are the types of games. How are you going to adjust as a pitcher? It's not easy.
These are the kind of matchups we live for. The pitcher of the year versus the player of the year in the Big 12 here as Devin Netz steps in against Kennedy. Not hit hard, soft liner to the shortstop, Haley Toney, and another scoreless inning thrown by Texas Tech's pitching staff, led by Nyjah Kennedy. Texas Tech coming to the plate next.
This is a meal. We're talking a good food that makes you feel good meal. You feeling that? Now, meal this. A salad for the first time in a week meal. A catching up with your ex meal.
So, how's your mom?
Been there. Ooh, a scoring cool dad points meal.
Obviously.
Thank you. Do I spy and I need 5 minutes to myself meal? Whatever you're feeling, at Panera, it just meals good.
Pedro's parents planned for adventure, but they didn't plan for him to make a new best friend. You were made to get more than you bargained for. We were made to help you save on packages. Expedia, made to travel.
Your nerves might be shot. Your hopes exposed like an open net. And you might be desperate to break through. And you might be cursing droughts. And you might be feeling time running out. And you might be dreaming of making history again. Whatever it is, you're in it. And with the Stanley Cup playoffs, that's the only thing that matters. The Stanley Cup Playoffs, Tuesday on ESPN.
College softball is brought to you by Phillips 66, proud sponsor of Big 12 softball.
Downtown OKC, beautiful day here. Up north of downtown, Ryan Maddox, the freshman, getting the start here today for Arizona. Not Devin Netz, Danielle. Bit of a surprise, perhaps.
I'm with you. I was just surprised when I did get the news. She is that crafty lefty, and they're kind of looking at the trend of Texas Tech and how they've been pitched over the course of this tournament. So there was definitely some thought process and just kind of that spinny, more of an off-speed type pitcher. They looked at Baylor and Lily Walker and how she approached them as an offense. So that really was the thought process. Isn't going to blow it by you. Low 60s, has that drop, curve and a rise, but quick out for Maya Davis.
Netz playing over at first base. She's got it as Maya Davis is retired. Davis 4 for 7 in the tournament, so she's been a tough out. 1 out as you take a look at the Texas Tech lineup. There's been some shuffling and jostling in the moments leading up to first pitch, but it lands on the lineup that Jerry Glasgow had yesterday, and you can't blame him when you put up 18 runs in 5 innings.
Yeah, you put 11 runs up in just 1 inning alone in yesterday's ball game, and you've got a lot of different players in that lineup that seem to be seeing the ball incredibly well, but they're going to have to make a quick adjustment against Maddox in the circle because she is trying to play off of the aggressiveness that Texas Tech brings to the plate and try to throw in some of those off speeds.
Not hit hard off the bat of Demi Elder, and quickly 2 down for Ryan Maddox.
Well, when we asked Coach Jerry Glasso before the game just about the adjustments with the changeup, he said, well, I want my hitters to go after it. I want them to not want to throw that pitch, and that's why you're seeing them jump early on it. But a good changeup pitcher is tough. Like you said, at times you have to sit one speed, and that's never easy.
Especially when you've got a changeup that's got some good down bite to it, too. That's when you see a lot of those weak ground balls hit off of the end of the bat, and that's why it's going to be so important for the defense for Arizona to make sure they're making those plays behind the freshman in the circle.
Lauren Aldred steps in against the freshman from Fresno. All-red first team all-conference and also a member, second team rather, all-conference in the Big 12. She looks at a ball outside.
And at times I like to look at just kind of how the lefty-lefty matchups work. They usually tend to favor the left-handed pitcher, but just even for an example of Lauren Allred, I mean, 423 against those lefties and then 350 against the righties. So you just kind of love to see as a left-handed hitter because you don't face as many lefties as you do the righties, right? And it is harder when you see them, but a good chunk of the average is up for Texas Tech against the left-handed pitcher.
I think a lot of that, too, has to do with the swing path of somebody like Allred and how she's able to let that ball travel deep, especially from those lefty curveballs moving away from her in the left-handed batter's box.
This hit well to left field, drifting back as a left fielder, Kennedy, to retire Allred, to retire the side. 1-2-3 first inning on 8 pitches for Ryan Maddox, scoreless after 1 in OKC.
Signing a reportedly 7-figure NIL deal. In her first week on campus there in Lubbock, she was surprised with a visit from the Hall of Fame Red Raider, 3-time Super Bowl winner Patrick Mahomes, as she was inducted into the inaugural Team Mahomes class, an NIL initiative partnering with Adidas, and pretty special for a Topeka, Kansas native who grew up a lifelong Chiefs fan. Her mom, Catherine, told me it was truly the most memorable experience of her lifetime, and that says a lot considering all the success that she's had in her softball career, guys.
Thank you, Morgan. Strike 1 to Sydney Stewart. Well, it was the jaw-dropping news of the offseason. It is carried into now the postseason. It is a great investment for Texas Tech because that investment is paid off with how Nyjah has pitched this year and played. She's a two-way player. She's hit as well this year.
And I feel like if you don't have pitching, you can't win, right? Like that's the bottom line. And obviously this is a team that can score some runs offensively, but that was something that Texas Tech needed. He went out and got. I mean, I asked if I could get a Taylor Swift autograph. That was not in the works. I mean, I tried, but I mean, it's incredible. And I feel like she's been so humble throughout this whole process, and it's just made me even a bigger fan of her because she's opened some doors for a lot of women in our sport with that.
Popped up back behind the plate. Stewart is retired as Valdez puts it away. 4 up, 4 down for Arizona. 1 down here in the second.
Well, and she's been so dominant throughout her career, too, and she just continues to evolve and get better and better. And you look back at her freshman year, and she was so well known for that rise ball and the velocity, and then now you look to her this year, she's throwing that curveball a little bit more. Of course, she's still throwing the rise ball. She's throwing the changeup, but she continues to keep working and getting better and better each and every year.
And when I got the chance to talk to her a couple weeks ago, one of the things that I wanted to know over anything was, like, how do you deal with the pressure? Like, you're the reigning player of the year. You signed this 7-figure deal. Like, you are that person. You're getting everyone's best all the time. And she said, you know, I felt more pressure after winning the freshman of the year going into my sophomore year at Stanford. Nobody knew, like, the demons that I was struggling with, how hard that was. She says, I don't even feel it this year. And I was like, dang. Are you telling me the truth?
Something tells me you cleaned that up for us just by saying dang, Danielle, but that's just an educated guess.
Well, and plus, just the everyday pressure of being a pitcher in the circle, too, and for somebody as dominant as she's been, it's almost to the point where you go out there and you just almost expect her to put up 0 runs, maybe just 1 run, and that's a lot of pressure for every pitcher to deal with.
Altmaier forcing Kennedy to field her position. Great scoop at first by Allred to get the out, 2 down.
Well, we've talked a lot about the pitching and the hitting for Nigeri, but we're going to throw in a little bit of defense here, too. This one's mishit off of the bat, so she has to run out of that pitcher circle over to the third base line, throws off of her back leg, and a really nice pick over at first base as well, finishing off that play.
You know, Madison, Danielle, we crunched the numbers because we've been saying her name for now a 3rd year in those first 2 years with Stanford as Emily Shep sticks in for strike 1. She has pitched on this stage before this tournament in the Women's College World Series and pitched a lot as a freshman and as a sophomore, and against Oklahoma and Alabama and Washington, and Oklahoma again in the semifinals her freshman year, that freshman year that you mentioned before.
Well, and I do feel like there was probably a lot of people that assumed she may transfer to like an Oklahoma or a Texas. And she said, I didn't want to be another like kind of puzzle piece. I wanted to be a part of being able to beat those teams on this stage. And I kind of really loved that answer, that like fire of, I want to beat them. I don't want to be a part of them, because Oklahoma's the big dog. It's theirs to win even this year until someone takes it away. And so I kind of dug that part when she had made that comment.
Pulls the string, but a foul tip by Emily Shep. 0-2 the count to the sophomore. Shep 2 for 4 in the tournament, 1 for 2 in yesterday's semifinal victory over Iowa State. Sydney Stewart had the big hit in that game, 3-run home run to break a 3-all tie. In on the hands, another soft liner, not a lot of hard contact against Kennedy so far for Arizona. Scoreless after 1.5 in Oklahoma. Back here in Oklahoma City, Jerry Glasgow, his first year as the Texas Tech head coach, of course, no stranger to college softball, had great success at Louisiana before making the move to Lubbock, and here they are, the regular season champions and the #1 seed, of course, in this Big 12 tournament.
A lot of high expectations for this team coming into this year, too, just with Nigeri Kennedy transferring over to Texas Tech, but it's been always exciting to talk to Coach Glasgow about the hitting side of things, too, and the adjustments that they want to make. But for him, coming into this tournament, he was coming out here to win this tournament because they're a team that wants to host when Selection Sunday comes around tomorrow.
First pitch from Maddox to the freshman cleanup hitter Bailey Lindemuth is in there for strike 1. Well, let's take a little vote here. We think Texas Tech is in really good shape to be a host. They've made it to the championship game. They're taking on an Arizona team that's actually ahead of them in the RPI. So you get a win here today, then you start to think, well, are we going to be something higher than a 16 or a 15? There's the first hit of the game, a solid single by the freshman Lindemuth, leading off the Tech second.
Well, something that he even said prior to this game kicking off was, I mean, we were to win against Arizona today, based on where their RPI is, there stands a good chance that we could maybe even be the 11 or the 12 instead of the 16. So it's definitely things that coaches think about. You can't say that the athletes are always up on the RPI on the stats like us all the time, but
the players are just going out there to win the ball games, right? But you've got Texas Tech right there at 19 in the RPI, and RPI is not the only thing that the selection committee is going to look at. Going to look at strength of schedule and body of work and how you're playing even towards the end of the season too. Are you playing some of your best softball when postseason comes around? Just RPI is one of those factors that contributes to the selection committee's decisions.
Johnson fouls it off down on the count 0-2. That was Lindemuth's first hit of the tournament, by the way. First team all-conference selection, all freshman team members. So she's aboard, and time called here by Glasgow to talk to Alana Johnson, also first team all-conference selection.
Well, and this is kind of a deja vu situation of 3 weeks ago against Arizona. He actually didn't start Alana Johnson in game 2, and it was the first inning, and it was that Silva who started, and then they brought in Ryan Maddox simply because of her average against left-handed pitchers. He brought her in for a pinch hit opportunity in the first inning, which she ended up coming through. But I mean, over 500 average against the lefties and a 245 against righties. Like, those are the little things that coaches look at, and not entirely sure he knew that Ryan Maddox was going to get the ball today, but Johnson, the success that she has against lefties is big.
And getting some of those hits in those moments too can really turn your swing in the right direction at the end of the year too. When you get in to the ball game in those pinch hitting roles and you come through like that, she's been batting 500 over her last 10 games, and that's exactly what you want to see from somebody right in the heart of your order, especially when there's people on the base paths.
Johnson 2 for 2 in the semifinal win, 3 runs batted in and a run scored, 3 for 4 in the tournament. That gets away from the catcher, Stewart, and taking second base is Lindemuth. So runner in scoring position for the Red Raiders with nobody out here in the second. Maddox did face Texas Tech in that series that Danielle referenced. This is a line drive to left. Dakota Kennedy there, one away. That was a run rule win for Texas Tech as Tech went there. Danielle, you were there in Tucson. That was a big statement series for Texas Tech, taking 2 out of 3 from the Wildcats.
Yeah, well, and Courtney Lyle and I were there a day early to sit in and watch game 2. And when it was that run rule situation in game 2, we're like, dang, like, not expecting it. And that was such a hot series, right? Game 1 goes to Arizona. Devin Netz had that big 2-run shot. And then they got run ruled, and then it was a heck of a game for the rubber match. But Texas Tech came out on top. And like I said, Nyjah, over 300 pitches in the course of that series. That's a lot, and it's impressive. That almost gives me the old school days of like what it was like in the Pac-10.
Where you just threw and threw and threw,
That's
right?
all, that's all we knew.
Full disclosure on your old school days pitching. What was your season high for innings pitched?
I'm going to let Maddie say that.
352?
352.
Yes.
That wasn't your career total. That was one season.
Just one season.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's not, I mean, you look at like Kat Osterman, you look at Monica Abbott. Monica Abbott with Tennessee had over 400 innings in a season.
I am putting you, no matter how young you are, in the old school category at 352 innings. Okay?
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Eric.
So here is Kennedy as she steps in against the freshman Maddox. That's another one that gets away from the catcher, Stewart. So a runner at third with one down for Texas Tech.
Some of these pitches up in the zone to Sydney Stewart back behind the plate, it almost is like she's anticipating those pitches being a little bit lower than they are, not quite getting that glove up enough to keep those in front, but that's a couple of extra bases now, and now you've got a runner over at third base with Kennedy up at the plate, an opportunity for a sac fly.
Well, and Sid's tall.
Very tall.
She's
yes.
probably 6'1". Like, she's got the levers. Yeah, pitch clearly way up, and you have to remember, one run for Texas Tech sometimes feels like enough when Nyjah is throwing well.
Well, especially in this tournament since they haven't given up a run in their 2 games. Swing and a miss by Kennedy. Nyjah was 5 of 35 at the plate in her 2 years at Stanford. Been a bigger part of the lineup and the offense for this Texas Tech team. She's been battling a leg injury, so that's kind of limited her ability to run the bases a little bit. That's according to her head coach, Jerry Glasgow, who I think would put a parachute on Nyjah running the bases if he could. That's slicing out of play. Well, you got to protect, you want to protect your investment, and in this day and age, that is a literal statement.
Well, and she's the ultimate competitor, too. She hits a ball into the gap yesterday. She's diving head first into second base. So she is running the bases. She wants every single base she can possibly get.
Well, there was a part of me where I was like, what are you doing? We're up watching the game, and I'm like, don't hurt yourself.
We chatted with her after the game. Her uniform was dirty. So if you're, that's just the telltale that you're not just a pitcher out there. You're getting your uniform dirty. Right, Madison? Those pitchers never got their uniforms dirty.
Get out of here.
So this is something you're going to see quite a bit of here, because the way Glasgow uses his lineup card, and there was a lot of shuffling on that lineup card. He will run for Kennedy. He might pinch hit for Kennedy. He'll want to keep her off the bases here, so a pinch runner here, and he's trying to maximize the number of substitutions he can have, because she was slotted in a flex position and down in the 10th spot in the lineup. So it could get a little bit confusing. For me, not for Jerry.
When I think about Victoria Valdez, I mean, she's a hitter that has to get going. I know Jerry mentioned it prior to this game kicking off that she's definitely been a little bit colder. I mean, she had a heck of an April. When you look at March, I mean, batted 132. She brought her average up to 297. But you think about when you're getting into the postseason is when you really want to start to heat up.
And she's somebody that brings a lot of power up at the plate, too. Just 2 home runs this season. Had 9 home runs, though, a season ago. That's one of the best parts about the postseason, though, is it feels like a fresh start, a brand new season. Doesn't matter how it gets done, just finding a way to get those wins.
Well, and he's made it clear to her, too, multiple times. He said this in the BYU series and the Arizona series, like, I'm going to keep putting you out there. Keep swinging. Like that Nemo mentality, just keep swinging, like even when the struggle is there. And sometimes you think for these athletes, like when they don't do well, there's that, oh, man, there's someone on the bench that can come in and take my spot. And that's always in the back of your mind. But to at least have that confidence to know, even when I struggle, coach still believes in me. I'm going to be in the lineup. I'm a rock behind the dish. I mean, that makes a difference.
Solid single to center field, and Texas Tech is on the board. That's got to feel great for Victoria Valdez, who's been struggling a bit at the plate. She comes up with a run-scoring single, and the Raiders are on top 1-0.
And you can see some of the emotion just pouring out of her when she reaches first base. Sometimes you just got to take a hack at a pitch out of the zone, and this one's way up in the zone, and she goes after it, takes her barrel, gets on top of that pitch, and drives it right out into center field to bring the first run of the ball game across the board.
Valdez was 0 for 4 in the tournament before that RBI, and Texas Tech is on top. Michaela Garcia running for Kennedy at second. 1 away for Reagan Jennings.
And it kind of makes you think, how long is like the leash here for Ryan Maddox, right? Like you just don't want any lead to feel like it gets too out of hand. Like I said, 1 run for Nyjah sometimes feels like it's 3 or 4 when she is throwing well.
Ground ball to second to flip to second for the force out as Valdez is retired. Runners on the corners with 2 down. Well, Devin Netz is the ace of this staff. She's had to work here in this tournament because it's been a couple of tight games for Arizona. So you wonder a little bit with head coach Caitlin Lowe how much Netz has here to offer today for Arizona.
Almost looked like we were going to have a conference.
We still might. The battery's going to get together now with Stewart and Maddox.
Everybody making sure that they're on the same page. They look like Coach Christian Conrad coming out of the dugout.
Well, and I think, too, when I asked him prior to the game kicking off, like, what's kind of the pitching plan, he said, we'll see how far we can get with Ryan and then definitely bring in Devin Netz. I think with 2 outs and the 9-hitter and Haley Toney, she got a hit yesterday but had struggled up to that point. I don't think making the pitching change just yet, trying to get out of this inning and then maybe starting a fresh inning with Nets next.
Ball one to the number 9 hitter, Haley Toney, who is really scuffling to close out the regular season. 0 for 15 to close out the regular season, 0 for 1 in game 1, and then yesterday, 3 for 3 in the win against Arizona State.
When you could tell she just was so happy. Like, even seeing in the kind of post-game press conference, she just like lit up a little bit more. Listen, as a freshman, when you struggle sometimes, it's like, how do I know how to deal with that? And the ebbs and flows of this game, it is hard to be successful all the time.
This is lifted to deep left field, drifting back to left fielder. It's over her head. Kennedy can't get it. 1 run scores. Here comes a second run, and it's another big hit for the freshman Haley Toney, who jogs over to third. Texas Tech on top 3-0. That's worth a hug from your head coach at third base.
Well, talk about goosebumps. She goes up and gets this pitch and just hits it right over Dakota Kennedy's head. Listen, this is like situations where you remember, like when she's running the bases, she gets in, knows she got some ribbies. That's not the important part. It's like, I'm contributing and helping my team. I'm back in it. I feel good. I feel like myself. And just such a sweet, like, moment for her, because you know the struggle was real. Jerry talked about it, and to be able to step up big yesterday, go 3 for 3 and come up and have some clutch RBIs, that's big.
Well, and I believe it was her first at bat yesterday where she actually fell behind in the count 0-2,
Yes.
battled her way back to a full count, and then ends up getting the base hit. So having those types of moments, those battle types of at bats, even if you're fouling off a lot of pitches, sometimes those foul ball swings can kind of get you back on track.
You're exactly right, Madison. Down in the count, 0-2, 2-out single, scored 2 runs to make it 3-0. That scored a double here today, going to third on the throw, brings in 2 more runs. So Toney's great hitting continues. She's got 6 runs batted in and is now 4 for 5 here in her first Big 12 tournament.
When you see how quickly it can change, right? You can be struggling like crazy, and then all of a sudden you're just riding the high and the ball looks like a beach ball.
That's the crazy part of hitting, right? One at bat, the ball can look like a golf ball coming in, and the next at bat, all of a sudden everything's clicking. Your rhythm is back to the way that it has felt throughout the rest of the season.
Line drive, base hit. Maya Davis comes through at the plate again. 4-0 Tech here in the second. That's her 5th hit of the tournament.
We've seen Maya Davis throughout this tournament be very aggressive early in the count, and this time she works her way into this count. It's a 2-2 count, and she's able to take this pitch that's on the inner half and drive it out to right field. She's somebody who really over the course of the past month has been pretty much swinging away all the time. Started off her collegiate career mostly as a slapper, has developed into a great power hitting triple threat left-handed batter for Texas Tech.
And I feel like after watching yesterday's game, like, her wheelhouse is up and in. Like, how many first pitches did she swing at yesterday and just like absolutely line it to right field? Like, that seems to be her hot spot, but she keeps getting pitched there.
And she's got some good adjustability with her swing too. If she sees an off-speed pitch, she'll even let go with the top hand just to be able to get that last bit of extension to drop the ball out into the outfield. So she's a really tough batter to pitch against.
Elder with a ground ball to first. Nets will take it herself, and that will retire the side. But 4-run score for the regular season Big 12 champions. They're up 4-0 after 2.
And it's also aspirational because they want to be back here to play in the tournament. So it's very special.
You think about the viewership that has been soaring, record attendances in ballparks. How is the Big 12 harnessing the excitement of college softball right now?
College softball is very important to the conference. We got better through realignment. As you can see here, we have Arizona, first time in the conference this year, competing for our conference championship. Our schools across the conference are investing in softball, and our controlled media outlets are really amplifying and doing a ton of storytelling around softball. It's the right thing to do, and we're just glad that we can participate.
Tomorrow, Selection Sunday, looking forward to that, seeing where Big 12 teams may end up. What are your hopes and expectations?
We're very ambitious. We think we'll have 6+ schools in. It's been a great year for the conference, and hopefully it'll continue in postseason.
Great. Thank you so much, Commissioner. Appreciate the time.
Thank you very much.
Eric?
Morgan, Brett, thank you so much. I'd like to thank him for the beautiful weather, too, for just handing out kudos, because I know we are the fortunate ones here in Oklahoma City compared to what's happening in Chestnut Hill. The ACC championship pushed back to 3 o'clock Eastern time between Florida State and Clemson. That's fouled back with one down here in the third. SEC championship between Texas A&M and Oklahoma moved up to 1 o'clock Eastern time in Athens, Georgia, because of weather. We're the lucky ones.
I keep looking up to the sky, too, as you're talking about the weather to make sure no clouds pop up.
Soft liner to left. Sniffen is retired. 2 down here in the third.
Well, and it's going to be important here for Arizona to try to figure out, like, how they're going to be able to adjust, right? Like, they're pretty much going on their 9th and 10th ABs, and that second time through the lineup here and being able to pass on the information. Listen, Niger just owns the outside part of the plate to the lefties, right? So it's like, how are you going to barrel that up, barrel something up on top, not whiff through pitches? And it's hard because she's so good. But what I will say, Maddie, is like, she's not coming in on the lefties whatsoever, right? So as a left-handed hitter, I just want to see them try to find a way to make the adjustment. Easier said than done up here in the booth.
It's easy to bat 1,000 up here in the booth, right? But to your point, Danielle, I do feel like she's really working that rise ball in different parts of the zone, but outside to a lot of those lefties. Now, it does have that great late jump on it, which makes it difficult to try to get solid barrel on it. And I also feel like she drops in that changeup, too, when she feels like you're starting to time up that pitch.
Well, and she hasn't even had to throw it yet. That's what makes it dangerous, right? It's like the second time through the lineup is when you're like, oh, shoot, I'm trying to get on time.
She's got that in her back pocket. You know it's there, right?
For the up. And, you know, talking with Coach Amber Freeman prior to the game, she said, we got to go after the rise. But, I mean, it's tough. She hasn't had to whip out the changeup. She's making it hard here for the Wildcats.
Couple of strikeouts. 9 up, 9 down for Kennedy here in OKC, 4-0 Tech. Sunday night countdown. Second pitcher of the game for Arizona. They bring on the veteran in place of the freshman Maddox. It's Miranda Stoddard.
Yeah, Stoddard coming out to just try to play damage control. I think any more runs is critical for Arizona with how Nyjah is throwing. 12-0 on the season. Hasn't thrown as many innings as I thought in the month of April. Only 11 innings pitched. Obviously a little bit in May, but I think for her to be able to come in, she has that drop ball, throws that 49% of the time, goes upstairs with the rise at 11, and then 10% of the time she will go up with that off speed as well.
Stoddard, two-way player, first-team all-conference selection in the Big 12, making her second appearance of this Big 12 tournament. Got the start against UCF. Went an inning in the third, gave up 3 hits, couple of earned runs. Through 22 pitches. Fouled off by Allred, leading off here for Texas Tech in the third.
Seems too like Arizona's trying to use the different velocities in their pitchers to try to throw off this Texas Tech offense, knowing they put up that 18th spot yesterday, starting off the game with Ryan Maddox, going to throw low 60s, high 50s, and then you bring in somebody like Stoddard, who's going to pump in that drop ball in the mid 60s. That's a big adjustment that you have to make timing-wise.
Well, and I also think the importance of being able to command your changeup, because when you have a good changeup against this Texas Tech team, you can be successful.
Under the glove of Nets, then under the glove of Escobar, and Allred is aboard for Texas Tech here in the third.
And Danielle, you were just talking about the changeup. Stoddard throws a really good one there, gets Allred to be out in front on this swing, goes right over to Escobar at second base. And it almost looks like that last hop to her didn't hop up as much as she was anticipating, so it gets right underneath her glove. An error over at second base allows the first runner of this inning to reach base safely.
Ball one to Lindemuth, who singled and scored the first Texas Tech run last inning. 18 runs yesterday in the 5 innings for Texas Tech, a Big 12 tournament record. Madison mentioned 11 runs in 1 inning. That's a squibber. That's going to stay in fair ground. Stoddard with the toss. One down as Allred takes second base. Tomorrow, first place Kansas City hosting Bay FC and WSL Soccer. Coverage begins at a special time of 12:50 Eastern on ESPN, ESPN Plus in English and in Spanish. So a lot to focus on tomorrow. We talked about Sunday night baseball. You've got the soccer, but for us softball nerds, tomorrow is in many ways Christmas morning when you hear the NCAA tournament field in the evening.
It's pretty hard to believe that it's already here, too. It feels like just yesterday we were down in Clearwater.
Soft liner, gloved by Sniffen. Johnson's retired, 2 down.
You know, we mentioned the selection show earlier today, but I almost had to pause just for a second to say, oh, yeah, that is tomorrow. It's already here.
On Mother's Day to boot. What a treat. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Selection show tomorrow, 7 p.m. on ESPN2. And then we'll be wrapping up regionals this time next week. The Supers, and then everyone will be back here at Devon Park. Look a little bit different, of course, as they install the bleachers out behind the fences here. And it will be packed with fans as the interest, the excitement around softball continues to grow and grow.
I don't know about you, but for Selection Show Sunday, even though I no longer compete and it's been quite some time, I still get like nervous. I have that day where I'm like, gosh, these athletes, I mean, you have 4 years to try to create whatever it is you want for a program and where you want to go and the legacy you want to leave. And sometimes there's so many uncontrollables on that day. And Coach Tarr used to know at Washington, like, Danielle has to sit over there and she needs to kind of do her own thing. And
she's got her own spot for Selection Sunday.
I did.
You know, it's funny how things have really not changed at all, Danielle, working with you here. You got your little area down there and we're just giving you your space.
Oh, man.
Well, there's so much that has to be decided as Kennedy fouls it off. Tomorrow you've got, well, who's in the field? You know, those bubble teams sweating it out. You want to hear your name called. Who are the top 16 hosting? Who are the top 8? Because if you win that first round, then you're hosting the Supers, and that's the beauty of it. Yeah, and who's the number 1 overall? That's right.
There's been so many number 1 seeds this year, and then when they've been the number 1 seed, they've gone down. But, I mean, I still have to say, Oklahoma, like, there's a good chance they win this SEC tournament. I think if they do that, I have to put them in the number 1 spot with just their resume and what they've been able to do and playing in the toughest conference in the country for the first time and outright winning it.
Brand new conference, coming back from a 6-run deficit yesterday. All those home runs, a lot of young players, a lot of new faces on that team. Ton of home run power for Oklahoma this year.
Kennedy walks for a second time.
Well, and it feels like it's the most open, but then again, you're also like, that team seems to be heating up at the right time with a lot of these different parts in the way Landry's been throwing, and then more importantly, their offense.
A reminder, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, SEC Network. It'll be Oklahoma and Texas A&M. Oklahoma the number 1 seed in the tournament. Texas A&M the number 2 seed, but Texas A&M number 1 in the most recent ESPN.com poll, and Oklahoma number 2. To your point, Danielle, it's been kind of a revolving door at the top.
And both of those teams have been ranked number 1 at some point this season.
Yes.
Texas was ranked number 1 at some point this season. Tennessee as well was ranked number 1. Really the first time in quite a long time that we've seen more than one team ranked in that number 1 spot, just because of how dominant the Sooners have been over the past 4 years.
I kind of like the hope, though, that it gives other teams over the course of the 4 years of how dominant Oklahoma's been. It's almost this like, dang, there's a good shot Oklahoma's going to win again. They haven't graduated anyone. Look at all the athletes they just continue to have year after year. But I do feel like this year there's definitely some more hope with some teams that if a team gets on a hot streak, they feel that they can win it.
Well, and then you look down a little bit. We've talked, as Kennedy is pinch run for again, you get a dominant pitcher like Nyjah, who, if she's feeling good and just gets locked in like we've seen her here today, and she can go on and on and on. And then that's someone, you always say, Danielle, you know better than anybody else, like one pitcher can only get you so far, but like she's it.
Yeah.
she's that pitcher. This is a fly ball to the right fielder. Altmaier. Valdez is retired, and that will do it for Texas Tech here in the third, 4-0 Red Raiders. There was the 3 hits yesterday, but that's pretty cool.
When I wonder too, when he says like, just trust the work, trust the prep, right? He's the one that sees the work that these young ladies do day in and day out, the grind of what it takes, the Big 12 champs. And sometimes when you feel like you're putting in the work and the result isn't happening, it can feel so defeating. And as a freshman, when you maybe don't understand or have the tools to endure that piece, because that's the hardest part of the game, right? The mental. And if you're not able to understand that you just got to keep going, it can eat you up.
It's a good bunt. Close play at first, beating out for the bunt single is Dakota Kennedy. First hit of the game for Arizona comes in the 4th.
Second time through the lineup, Arizona just trying to do a little something different here to get things going. Dakota Kennedy with a great bunt down that third base line. You can see the route that Bailey Lindemuth took to it, almost started running more towards the part of the infield and then had to go back to field that bunt, and that's going to give Dakota Kennedy plenty of time to beat out that bunt.
Well, I even feel like Lindemuth was still in, respecting that Kennedy can drop that bunt. She was still able to get it down the third baseline.
Ground ball too short. There's a nice little play made by the player that we were just discussing a moment ago, Haley Toney. At short, 1 away. So here comes Devin Netz. She's been good at the plate this season and against Texas Tech.
Going up against Nigeri Kennedy, too. This is the first pitch of the at-bat that she sees, a rise ball up in the zone. She chose that pitch. She was going to go after the rise ball. She was going to hunt the rise ball, and she did not miss on that pitch up in the zone.
Well, and that was game 1, and the only runs given up in that game by Nyjah. Gave up 2 home runs in that series to Arizona, and then was very careful when she faced Devin Netz again. Just knowing kind of the wheelhouse, and I mean, she went up and got that pitch, right? That just got out, but something about Devin Netz, she is not going to get cheated. She's going to take those mommy hacks when she steps in the box, but I think when I just look at her over the course of not only her career, but like just looking at her even this weekend, like she's been so big for them late in games. Coming up, they've all come from behind wins, and she's been the one that's kind of almost felt like started the rally in all those games and gotten them going.
Coach Caitlin Lowe says that she is the spark plug for this team, and you've seen that a couple of times in this tournament.
Fouled off by Netz.
But this is when it makes it tough, because it's like back-to-back rise balls, right? Now you're down 1-2, and now my mentality is she going to go change? That's in the back of my head, even though I haven't seen it, but that's what I'm thinking.
And I still think timing-wise, you've got to gear up for the rise ball or the curve ball and react to the changeup. Just like that. Sometimes that's all it takes. Just get a piece of it to see something else. Now, one thing I've noticed with Kennedy is she likes to throw that changeup back-to-back, especially when she gets into a 2-strike count, and especially after batters foul off the pitch before, because they're thinking, I'm going to flip back to the high-velocity stuff, and that's when she'll drop in those back-to-back changeups.
Dirty.
Right on cue. Back-to-back changeups. You have to gear up for the rise ball. You have to try to get on time for 75, but the pinpoint location and command that she's been able to show with this pitch comes in right about belt high. So as a batter, you think that's the rise ball. You think it's going to continue to move up, and by the time you recognize that pitch, you realize it's too late.
But that's also the difference maker in Nyjah this year, right? Like, she is someone that's had to reinvent herself with that piece. We've seen her throw her curveball quite a bit more, not necessarily into left-handed hitters, but it's been able to pull the string when she's needed to on back-to-back pitches, getting out of her comfort zone with that, where now she can do it at any point. And like we just said an inning earlier, she hadn't even thrown her changeup yet. Second time through the lineup, you have the leadoff, get down the bunt, feel like any momentum is going towards Arizona at all. She's like, nope, pump the brakes, throw the change piece a couple times, and show them who the big dog is.
Bring the heat at 71.
Sydney Stewart, another batter in this Arizona lineup that just has so much power, such an explosive swing from the right side. And throughout that Arizona series, Danielle, I felt like Nyjah was just working the outside part of the plate against her, trying to see if she could get Sydney Stewart to almost lean outside, and then she'd come right back inside with that rise on the inner half.
Full count now to Stewart, who popped out in foul ground to the catcher her first time. Stewart was 2 for 3 yesterday. Big home run, 3-run shot to send Arizona to the championship game, and she's on board for the first time today.
Well, and just think about how, like, battle-tested this Arizona team is going to be, knowing that they've got to face, in my opinion, the best pitcher in the country. You're not going to take away the heat of Carlin Pickens. You can't take away someone like Tegan Kavan. But when I think about true spin and one of the best, even thinking about like the Olympic level and seeing those types of pitchers, like her spin and velocity and what she's able to do is so good. And so I look at Arizona, it's hard going up against someone like this. But what I'm saying is other pitchers that you are going to face once you get into the postseason, you're like, well, dude, we faced Nyjah 4 times, so we're good. We're going to be able to make an adjustment. We're going to figure it out.
Nyjah's been pounding the zone, though. 11 of 14 first pitch strikes today against Arizona. She's just been in control right from the start. Finally, Arizona has somebody in scoring position and 2 runners on here with 2 down in the 4th.
Kaya Altmaier had some good at-bats against her, too. Ended up working her way, an 8-pitch at-bat throughout that series. Ended up dropping in a base hit out to the outfield, too, on one of those rise balls.
1-2 pitch to Altmaier. Swung on and missed. 4th strikeout for Kennedy.
Well, Arizona is not making it any easier. Nyjah, another strikeout.
Eric?
Thank you, Morgan. You know, I'm honored to be working alongside 2 3-time All-Americans, but I'm sorry, Caitlin Lowe's got you 2 beat. 4-time All-American, great player who has carried on Mike Andrea's legacy here with an Arizona team trying to get back to the Women's College World Series here in Oklahoma City. Of course, 8 NCAA titles, 25 World Series appearances, but the last in 2022.
Danielle and I were talking about it yesterday, just the intensity that Caitlin Lowe brought to every single part of her game. Even if it was out there in the outfield while we were hitting batting practice, she was always working on her reads in center field, and you made sure that you were getting out of her way in center field so that she could get her work in.
Yeah, don't mess with Kate.
I think that's the common theme, though. Like, you guys were both intense players. I don't think anything you liked, and I don't know if this is the way with Caitlin, you liked beating the other team more than you liked winning. Do you understand? Like, there's a little subtle difference there, but like I'm getting that vibe with all 3 of you.
Well, she off the field, jokester. She'll make you laugh, but on the field, she was game on. And sometimes I had to learn real quick, like, yeah, maybe now's not the best time to crack that joke to Kate. Even when we're up by 6, like, let's just kind of leave her be. So I don't know. She's the same way, though, when she coaches, right? Like, she's stoic. She just stands in the dugout. She has this presence about herself, and she almost carries that from how she was as a player to a coach.
Soft liner on the short hop, gloved by Beal at short over to Nets. Jennings is retired, 1 out here in the 4th.
Well,
it's tough to follow a legend, and she's done a fantastic job trying to keep Arizona among the elites in college softball. Oh, hey, hang on a second. Mother's Day weekend, what is this? We have viewers watching us and watching Mom.
Well, that was Harper, her daughter, watching at her Little League practice, and then Caroline, which is Alyssa Wild's sister. And Alyssa Wild is on Arizona, so they're a sister and her daughter play together. And Kate said, yeah, Harper was just glued to the iPad yesterday during their practice when our game was going on. I know Harper is watching. Quick shout out to you.
9 a.m. back home, first pitch, right? It's like, we used to watch Saturday morning cartoons. I like watching Saturday morning softball if I'm Harper.
So many great role models for the young athletes across the country on all the teams that we get a chance to cover this season.
It's the ball to Haley Toney.
I feel like it's pretty special, too, when your mom is the head coach of a program like that. And, they have a son as well, but being able to kind of bring your daughter around these strong women and just how they carry themselves, that's going to help her kids more than I think she even knows for just so many things. And it's pretty special. I mean, I love being able to bring my kids around, and I still remember when Audrey got to meet Nyjah when she played for Stanford last year at Washington. My daughter is 8, and she still talks about it. She talks about it almost every week, that Nyjah's her best friend. And I say that to Nyjah. I said it to her yesterday, that, you know, Audrey still talks about you, and it's just remembering that she doesn't know that you pitched a perfect game or you gave up a home run. It's just the impact that you have, the taking the time to say hello. That makes a big imprint on them.
Strikeout for Stoddard, getting Tony looking 2 down here in the 4th.
Miranda Stoddard has done a really nice job since coming into this ball game. Haley Tony has been swinging the bat really well the past 2 games, so to get her looking on that pitch inside, and that's one thing that you see from all the Arizona pitchers too, is they are not afraid to work both sides of the plate and work hard inside to both right-handed batters and left-handed batters.
Sometimes I feel like we don't see that enough, and I know I say that to you a lot, but like, being able to establish the inner half as a right-handed pitcher going in on a lefty, right? Like spinning that curveball, dropping that drop down in on the hands. I just think there has to be this fear factor that pitchers need to instill in hitters of like, hey, that's my plate. And at times we don't see that enough, right? Gosh, remember when we used to face Caitlin Lowe for Arizona State, and like I could literally spin a curveball and it's going to hit her, and she would spin at it, and it was just saying, hey, this is my plate. And
I think, too, it makes it difficult for the batters. That you hear oftentimes batters going up there just trying to split the plate in half, trying to pick a side, and when you're only throwing to one side of the plate, it kind of plays into their game plan a bit.
2-2 the count to Davis, who's 1 for 2, RBI single her last time. 5th hit of the tournament for the junior. 1 of 5 transfers from Louisiana who followed Jerry Glasgow to Lubbock. Now Stoddard gets the strikeout. Back-to-back Ks for Miranda Stoddard. 1-2-3 inning for Texas Tech. 4-0 Raiders after 4. A very good hitting team. 351 on the season entering play. 74 home runs. You see their D1 ranks. Of course, there is the caveat of who they're facing in the circle for Texas Tech here today.
But I feel like this series, or this Big 12 tournament, both their games been come from behind wins. So even though Coach Caitlin Lowe stressed, we used to be that team that jumped out really early offensively, first, second inning, we're packing a punch. But at least in this tournament, they've had that fight of knowing what it's like to come from behind. Yeah, hard against Nyjah, but doesn't mean they don't know what that's like.
And even heard Coach Lowe talking in the interview as well, just their adjustments and the quality of their at-bats too. That's something that she's looking for. Even though Devin Netz ended up striking out in that at-bat, she liked the amount of pitches that she was seeing, how she made Kennedy work out there in the circle. Those are the little things that can go a long way when you're facing somebody like Nyjah.
This has been the good inning in the first 2 games of the series for Arizona. 3 runs in the quarterfinal round in the 5th, 3 runs in yesterday's semifinal round in the 5th inning. A couple of come-from-behind wins for Arizona, and here we are in the 5th inning.
And I feel like sometimes you have to have those moments where you do need to tip your cap. Even if you have a good at-bat and you strike out, like, hey, I'm going to tip my cap because, yeah, she is one of the best, but what information or how can I, like, pass the bat mentality to my next teammate, even though it may not be me on the base pass, I don't know, trying to ignite something. And those 2 strikeouts by Miranda Stoddard, like, that's the energy that I want to try to carry over and get going.
Well, Kennedy gets her 5th strikeout. 3 of those strikeouts coming against the last 4 hitters for Arizona, 1 away.
Well, and if you're swinging at this pitch, Maddie, you know more than anyone, like, it ain't happening.
I know from experience.
Hang on. Was that a Madison Shipman chases rise balls dig right there by you?
I chased it quite a few in my day. I still believe in my mind that I could hit them, even though my barrel was nowhere close to those pitches. I practically strike out against Nyjah up here in the booth because I'm swinging and missing at the rise balls that she's throwing out there. But I do think when you get to this point in the game, when you're facing Kennedy, you almost have to take a chance, right? You have to go up there knowing there is a possibility that she might not throw the pitch that I'm looking for and I might get to an 0-2 count, but you almost have to split the plate that way and try to take that approach. Whether you go up there and you hack at the rise ball up in the zone, or do you take a chance that she's going to throw that rise ball low in the zone, or even that changeup? Do you go up there and try to sit a changeup?
I would not be good at Nija's change sitting that. But even talking with Coach Amber Freeman about the information that these athletes like to receive. Some like a lot of information, some don't. And I think when I look at Nija over the course of this game and her being able to throw first pitch strikes, that's something that's in my radar as a hitter. Man, she's getting ahead of us. She's throwing her best stuff early. And then we're making her not have to really go outside of her zone because we're throwing at pitches way out. So it's like, hey, if I do choose to swing early in the count, I have to be able to barrel up a pitch. And that's what's so tough about facing her. If you get under it, you foul ball, then you find yourself in danger territory, which you've seen the last two hitters.
And then you're looking at a changeup for strike 3, 2 down.
I know it's a low percentage play, but you're almost to the point in a 2-strike count where you want to flip your game plan. Maybe you go up there and you be on time for the changeup and just try to react to those rise balls out of the zone. You could tell by her timing, she was thinking she was going to see another 70-mile-per-hour pitch, and she just drops that changeup in there for strike 3.
Ball 1 to Sniffen, who lined out to left her first time.
Well, and the difference in velocity, that last pitch at 72 miles an hour and then the changeup, 59, 60, the lower body movements when you're fooled by pitches is so hard, right? And trying to have that mentality to step in that, oh, I'm going to sit change. And like you said, and I loved hearing your adjustments, if you're trying, is just you're going to start your load a little bit later. And I'm going to wait and almost kind of like trick my body into thinking that it's going to be harder and I'm waiting on the change.
There were some changeups where you could see them immediately out of the hand, so you can make that adjustment as the pitch was on its way to you, but there were times where pitchers did a really good job of hiding their changeup, so I had to change my rhythm and my timing to only be on time for the changeup, so that even if I wanted to swing at the fast stuff, there was no way I was going to be able to get the bat off of my shoulder in time to even take a swing at them.
So you're saying with Nija, just watching her here, there's no difference in her delivery, her movements, no matter what pitch she throws, which makes that changeup even more effective.
And she's throwing it for a strike consistently, too. She's been pumping them in there left and right, no matter what the count is. And like we talked about earlier, she'll throw them back to back.
Well, I feel like when you move on to the postseason, teams try to find a way to adjust to that pitch. I mean, her being able to move forward and say, hey, I got a 1-2 count, I could bounce this. Or how low can I put this pitch? Like, what type of, height difference can I get on it? And there's another prime example, like 56 miles an hour down. To me, this has been the biggest key of the game to Nija. Just flipping the change. No one can tell. Continuing the momentum. This 4-run lead feels like an 8-run lead.
36 seasons as the head coach at Arizona, 8 Women's College World Series titles. Mike, Coach Lowe was telling us coming into this week, you always share your nuggets, your wisdom of advice with the ladies. What advice did you give them coming into this championship game facing Nigeria Kennedy?
Well, there's not much. I mean, Caitlin and her staff have done a great job preparing this team, so you just got to go out and trust yourself, execute the game, and have fun. Nija's a good pitcher, and, she doesn't give you many pitches to square up, so you got to work hard at it. And as you can see, she's pretty phenomenal.
Coach Lowe, being one of your former players, what is it like now watching her take the reins and continue on the success that you built?
A lot of pride. I mean, I was able to kind of hand select her to take over the reins because I knew she was a great player, but really a great communicator, and has just done a really solid job with this program. And I really feel good about the future of it. I think we're in good hands, and it's been fun to watch them, in the Big 12 for the first time. And it's been kind of exciting to play some different teams, although I do miss some of my counterparts in the Pac-12. But, I think it's exciting. And this event, I hope we can get more people out here, with Oklahoma not being here, and Oklahoma State, Texas. So we got to work hard at trying to build the foundation again. But I like what we're doing, and I love being in the conference. It's been a lot of fun for all of our sports.
Thank you so much, Mike. Really appreciate the time. Eric?
Obviously, he hasn't turned in his Arizona colors. Still a part of the program. And as a matter of fact, now he knows things in a tournament can get a little busy. There goes the runner down to second, and a good throw by Stewart, getting Elder one away as Allred at the plate here. As we take a look at this replay, I guess they were in need of some food, and Mike was the delivery driver at some point this week. Did I get that story right?
Nice throw here by Sydney Stewart. The third runner she's thrown out in this Big 12 tournament. It looked like Texas Tech had a hit and run on trying to get some runners in motion, something that Coach Jerry Glasgow likes to do a lot. But back to your story, Eric. Coach Caitlin Lowe said that Coach Candrea is willing to do whatever it takes to help out the team, and even if that is bringing some food to the coaching staff as they're scouting other teams, he's going to do it.
And not plastic utensils.
No.
Oh, no. It's Arizona softball. We
The
don't
metal
deal.
stuff.
We find real. We bring out the fine china and silver if needed.
And Coach Caitlin Lowe's like, we're just sitting behind home plate, and Lauren Lappin just eating some salmon with her metal fork, you know, we're scouting.
8 national championships. Sure, this is a bit of a nice little throwback trip for Mike to be back here in a place where Arizona had some great success during his long, successful tenure, as he talked about with Morgan a moment ago. That slap foul by Lindemuth, who's 1 for 2 with a run scored. Well, Miranda Stoddard's done a great job settling things down, getting help with the defense. The caught stealing by Stewart already reached on an error. It was the first error for Arizona in this tournament. But can they overcome this deficit against Kennedy? And as you pointed out, Danielle, 4-0 feels like a lot more with the way Nigeri's pitching.
Yeah, it's almost like they seem kind of confused on what they're trying to swing at, and that's when you know a pitcher is just really cruising.
Fly ball hit the deep center field, but playable for Arizona's Shockey. And that will do it for Texas Tech here in the 5th. On to the 6th we go in the Big 12 championship game in OKC.
Arizona has got some work to do. Nyjah Kennedy, 7 Ks in this game. She really has just been money. Swings and misses on the outer half for the lefty. She's climbed the ladder on the inner half, but to me, the difference maker, the changeup. That pitch has made every other swing indecisive, not knowing, is she going upstairs? Is she going to go with that changeup? But listen, she just is cruising. What Big 12 tournament for her? I mean, hasn't given up a run. She's just continuing to put up big numbers. Obviously, you look at her player profile, resume. Incredible to be able to do this. In this day and age, with how good hitting is, Maddie, for a pitcher to be able to do this, I think really is impressive, because there's a lot more of an advantage for the hitter sometimes than there is for the pitcher.
And I think, too, when you're a pitcher that throws at 70 mile per hour plus, then you can at times think maybe I can just rely on that velocity, but she is truly pitching out there. She is spinning, she is working those rise balls, even moving them in different directions. I think about the rise that she throws outside to the lefty. She gets great arm side run on it. It's almost moving like a right-handed screwball away from those left-handed batters, and then you bring in the changeup. And like you mentioned, Danielle, it's almost like she didn't even bust out that pitch until she went one time through the order. Well, she didn't need to, and that really is the beauty. When teams don't make adjustments on you as a pitcher, you don't need to change who you are if you're being successful. If I'm able to continue to keep going out and throwing upstairs and getting big swings and misses, it's when you start to see, hey, Dakota Kennedy steps up, bunt, lead off an inning. Okay, it feels like Arizona's getting any type of momentum. Now's the time to turn the page and find a way to just have better pitches in certain situations to get in their head even more.
Gets the pinch hitter Dimmler. 5th straight strikeout for Kennedy. One away.
And this is that rise ball that she'll throw on different levels outside to the left-handed batters. But look at the run. Look at the way that this pitch is moving like a screwball away from those barrels. When you're trying to get on top of a rise ball and you have to deal with that type of movement away from your barrel, that's where those swings and misses continue to climb up.
I mean, my goal as a left-handed hitter would be to simply try to just hit something on the outer half down that line. Like, I would pick some type of a visual as a hitter when I'm going up against someone that's dominating, simply to just kind of give myself that, like, okay, hey, this is the side of the field that I'm trying to hit. I know this is where I'm getting pitched 99% of the time. And sometimes when your eyes can lock in with something, it gives you that advantage. I know we do that for the pitching piece, but sometimes as a hitter, that's what I like to do, especially when our team was struggling.
Sometimes someone's unhittable. I mean, only one ball's left the infield against Kennedy today. That was a fly ball to left. There's a ball to the leadoff hitter, Kennedy. 15 innings pitched for the tournament. 3 hits allowed and no runs for Nyjah.
And just what, 2 walks? 2 walks in this entire tournament. She had 1 walk coming into today, had 1 walk to Sydney Stewart back in the 4th inning.
3-2 now to Kennedy, who has the hit for Arizona against Nyjah. That was a bunt single her last time up. Fourth time that Kennedy's gone to a full count today. And there's the second walk of the game. Well, just back to the big picture part for Kennedy. You know, Danielle, you went through this as a player, being the National Player of the Year, doing it back-to-back. A lot of pressure, a lot of expectations. And you throw in the fact that she goes from Stanford here to Texas Tech, helps transform this program to a regular season championship for the first time in program history. They're playing in just their 2nd Big 12 tournament championship game. She's changed things in a big way in this conference and for this team.
I also think her getting a hit really helps and relieves maybe any type of pressure that she may feel as a pitcher. That was a big selling point for her going to Texas Tech. I mean, she communicated 30 minutes about pitching, but 90 minutes about hitting and what the plan was and how she was really going to start to own in on that hitting piece. And Jerry and her have spent a lot of time together working that. And sometimes that just gives you a fresher mindset in the circle.
It's going to be a base hit. Doesn't leave the infield, but no problem for Shockey with her speed. She's got her 4th hit of the tournament. And Arizona has 2 aboard with 1 out here in the 6th.
So this is what speed's going to do. Look at the way the right side of the infield is playing back, and they're shifted up the middle. So this is a perfect spot for Reagan Shockey to pull that ball to the 3-4 hole, because no way that Langeliers is going to be able to get that ground ball in time to get her out over at first base.
Well, this is what you want if you're Arizona. You have 2 on, and you have the Player of the Year at the plate, and Devin Netz, who takes ball 1. Netz lined out to short in the 1st, struck out in the 4th. 0 for 2 today, but 4 for 8 in the tournament. 1-1.
I feel like you can't say enough about Devin Netz to just last year hurt, doesn't get to play. This year, such a good 2-way player, Big 12 Player of the Year. But the offensive numbers, the ribbies, the homers, and then to be able to do it on the flip side as a pitcher.
Back to the pitcher. Kennedy gets the lead runner, looking for 2. And Texas Tech turns it. Their 28th turn DP of the season comes at a big time here.
Just when Arizona started to get a little bit of momentum, Nyjah Kennedy with the 1-5-3 double play to end the inning.
All right, a little bit of a pause here because a challenge on the call at first base. They're reviewing it right now. For the moment, it's an inning-ending double play turned by Texas Tech. Here's the call. So it is confirmed. It was very close at first base. Challenge unsuccessful, call upheld.
Yeah, it looks like that glove just closes right before Devin Netz. Her foot hits the front part of the base.
Oh, and that's a good shot. Just a classic 1-5-3.
Routine 1-5-3 double
Nyjah
play.
could play her position as well. Is that what you're trying to tell me? I no doubt on that one. So we'll have a moment here to tell you about the NBA playoffs rolling on today. Pair of conference semifinal game 3s on ABC. The Celtics with their backs against the wall at Madison Square Garden taking on the Knicks. That's at 3:30 Eastern time. And in the Western semis, T-Wolves Warriors coverage starts at 8 Eastern. Of course, everyone here in Oklahoma City was rooting for the Thunder, but in overtime, Denver got the victory last night in the Western Conference playoffs. So that's what you'll see today in the NBA. So we talked about Jerry Glasgow, had great success at Louisiana, and last year hosted a regional, which was won by Baylor, 45 wins a year ago. 7 seasons in Louisiana, 300 victories, and now at Texas Tech, and trying to coach his team to Texas Tech's first Big 12 tournament title in the year where they won their first regular season championship.
And I feel like this is a really big weekend for Texas Tech. And I only say that since that Arizona series, there was definitely at times a little bit of struggles offensively for this group, or maybe they weren't putting up the same amount of numbers. He had to continue to keep saying, they have to want it. Like, they have to go up and step in the box and make things happen and score runs for Nyjah. This weekend has been huge for them. I mean, you put up 18 runs yesterday. You go out and, I mean, maybe Ryan Maddox wasn't who I expected to start. And do I think they should have started Devin Netz and Miranda Stoddard? I do, but I also think there's a lot of matchups that go into it. But, man, Texas Tech, if they're able to win this is big.
Well, and to be able to lengthen out the lineup, too, when you do have Nyjah in the circle, being able to get production from more than just one batter in your lineup, not having to rely on Maya Davis to be the one that comes through every single time. But when you look at some of the clutch hits today, Bailey Lindemuth, Victoria Valdez, Haley Toney in the 9 spot, you've got a lot of different people that have been able to contribute in today's game.
Lana Johnson leading things off, 0 for 2 today. This is out to left. Kennedy puts it away for out number 1 as Nyjah Kennedy steps back to the plate. We go down to Morgan.
Talked to Kennedy. She says she wants her legacy to be remembered as one of the best pitchers and hitters in the game. A big reason why she made the move to Texas Tech in her 2 years at Stanford. Just 35 times in the batter's box compared to the 80+ she's had this season. And she told me really the focus has just been on timing, seeing more live reps, just recognizing different pitches. She said she'd hit on both team scrimmages in the fall just to see as many balls as possible, needing, frankly, to just get caught up to other hitters. And you know, Coach Glasgow, guys, telling us her talent lies in her will to get better. She's one of the hardest working people he's ever been around, and it's rubbed off on this entire team this season.
Kennedy swings at the first pitch, lifts it to right. Altmaier drifting back to the track, and she has it. 2 down here in the 6th.
Well, and when you think about Nyjah, like, coming out in February, she batted .319, 4 home runs, 18 RBIs. And then, obviously, the leg injury, and that impacted her. She had 0 ABs in March and was 5 for 20 in the month of April, still 3 home runs, but she just hasn't been able to get, like, a lot of consistency, and that's hard with hitting. You know more than anyone.
Unable to work, too.
Yeah.
You can't get the swings and BP and leading up to games that you normally would.
It does not happen that way, and she's even had to take a little bit of time off throughout the week from the pitching, right? Doing a lot more on the weekends, a lower impact type stuff throughout the week to just continue to keep her body doing what it needs to do. So ultimately she's able to pitch because that is the money maker. That's what you need her for. But when she's able to, like, I feel like unleash on something, you said it when she hit that double to the wall, like her true power, she's strong.
And to Morgan's point, too, when you're not able to get those consistent reps, it's the timing piece of it that's often the hardest part for hitters to get back into the groove of facing live pitching consistently, not to mention all the scouting that's out there and the off-speed pitches, the off-speed drops and off-speed rise balls and change-ups and everything else to go along with it. So being able to try to get as much work in as you possibly can, but still be able to come through and execute when it comes time for game time.
And I do feel like it's helped her in the circle because I really believe like it's taken that pressure off of the player that she's expected to be when she crosses the lines. She is that player. Everyone knows that. She's getting everyone's best constantly. So when she can step in the batter's box, she can be someone completely different, and it's great.
Valdez with a ground ball to short. Miranda Stoddard continues to pitch well for Arizona, but it's still 4-0 Texas Tech as we head to the 7th. To the Phillips 66 Big 12 Softball Championship, Eric Freed, Madison Shipman, Daniel Laurie, Morgan Uber with you here, and Nyjah Kennedy in the circle trying to put it away for Texas Tech. And she is our player of the game, brought to you by Phillips 66 because she's been the player of the tournament, not giving up a run in 3 appearances.
8 strikeouts so far in today's ball game, and just feels like she's nearly unhittable out there in the circle with the way that she's been able to almost change her pitch repertoire as this game has gone on. Started off this ball game throwing primarily rise balls, and then now you get deeper into the game, you're seeing a lot more of those change-ups. But the first pitch strikes too. It just feels like batters are behind 0-2 practically every at-bat.
Well, and then you see like a daddy hack on that one, right? 72 miles an hour swinging, and it has a little bit of elevation, and it's up, right? And those are what make it so tough when you get down in the count, when you think I need to swing early because that's my best chances to have success. She really does make it tricky on you because she is able to go up. And you can think about pitchers back in the day. Riseball pitchers sometimes tend to miss, right? And when they miss, you as a hitter make them pay, but it's just the fact that she can change planes so good, not necessarily down, but it's the off speed that makes that Riseball seem that much better.
Thought she had strike 3 on that changeup to Sydney Stewart leading off the 7th. The 2-2 in on the hands, coming in from first to grab it is Allred. One down here in the 7th.
That changeup too almost slows your timing down just a bit to try to be on time for the Riseball. To the right-handed batters, especially when she's working that pitch inside, feels like it's getting in on your hands even faster than it is.
When I remember in the rubber match when they played at Arizona 3 weeks ago, she cruised at 66 that whole game, and then in the top of the 7th inning, her team was able to get a couple home runs. They were up by 3. She was gassing it at 73, 74 miles an hour. Like, I'm actually a little jealous that she can choose when to throw at 66 or she can gas it up at 73 miles an hour.
Fly ball to left off the bat of Altmaier. In foul ground, making the play is Elder. 2 down.
When you're pitching the way that Nigeria is in the circle, you need to have the defense be able to have your back, and Demi Elder having to run a long way into foul territory, especially off the left-handed bat. This ball's just going to continue to tail off into foul territory there. Nice slide and grab for out number 2.
Another first pitch strike from Kennedy to Shep with 2 down here in the 7th.
Well, and now you're in your dome. You're like, oh, man. She went change. Is she going back? I was planning on swinging early and
popped up. Catcher calls for it. In a season of firsts, it's another first for Texas Tech. Big 12 tournament champions for the first time.